to the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast. I am the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, a fight man's fighter if there ever was one, your king of extreme, Phil KOE, joined by my indomitable broadcast partner,
still your four-time champion, Tony G. Folks, we are going to level with you right out of the gate. AEW Fight for the Fallen. Phil and I, unfortunately, this is by our own admission, completely botched our preview of this show. I previewed the card on my phone. I believe it was Tuesday. Things changed, or what I previewed was completely incorrect. We previewed a three-way tag match between SCU, Lucha Bros, and Jungle Boy Luchasaurus. That match did not take place. That was not a thing. Instead, it was SCU, Lucha Bros.
After all the performances that they did tonight, I wouldn't mind seeing that match.
Right, exactly. That would be fun. But that didn't happen.
That being said, folks, what we will review for you tonight is the actual card that happened at Fight for the Fallen.
Not to be confused with Fighter Fest.
They'll need to get on that. So, starting off with the pre-show, Sonny Kiss versus Peter Avalon.
Yeah.
I had very low expectations for this match.
Man.
And
I honestly was more looking forward to Jim Cornette tearing this thing to shreds here in the upcoming week. Shockingly, I have got to tip my hat to both of them. I hate the librarian gimmick, both of them. Terrible. And I'm not even a big fan of Sonny Kiss. It's different. I get it, and it works for him. But Sonny Kiss is an athlete, and Peter Avalon has some fantastic technical skills. So it blew me out of the water for what I expected.
Yes, Peter Avalon, way better worker in the ring than I thought. Sonny Kiss, yes, he has a very flamboyant gimmick, but at the same time, he stuck to it in the right way to the point where it makes sense in the context of the world of wrestling.
Yes.
So, considering I was anticipating and giving it a half star, the fact that I ended up giving it 2.5, 2.5 stars, good work by both of you, gentlemen.
Yeah, the entrances were really goofy. I've got my notes here. Apologize. Goofy entrances.
Mine are all right here, ladies and gentlemen.
The Avalon spot where he sentoned into a moonsault miss, and then Sonny hit a split leg off the turnbuckle to end the match. That was my big spot. I really liked it. It was the finish. Sonny gets the win. How would you rate it?
I said 2.5 stars.
I actually agree. It blew my expectations completely out of the water. Kudos to them for taking what could have been a massive gimmick match and turning in a really good performance for opening match on the pre-show.
Yeah, which really exceeds my expectations for an AEW pre-show in general.
Exactly, and that's the most impressive thing about it.
So, moving right along, we have Havoc, Janela, and Darby. No, not Darby.
No,
Darby
we didn't do that yet because we had the match order completely incorrect. Before the next match on the pre-show, the announcers tried to segue to a segment with Kip Sabian, but instead it was Dustin and Cody who gave a really good interview. And then they cut back, well, obviously that wasn't Kip, so this was bad communication. But I digress. What was up next on the pre-show was Britt Baker and Riho versus Nakajima and Brie Presley. And I'll just say right out of the gate, I'm a fan of Brie Presley's look. And you could tell between her and Britt Baker, there's something there. The chemistry isn't there. But the look that they have, that they give each other, you can tell that there's going to be something there.
Well, they've never wrestled before.
Right, and they made mention of that.
Now, the Japanese wrestlers, Riho looked a lot better this time around than she did last time. And Nakajima, was it?
Yes.
I dig her gimmick, the 140-inch kaiju. I think that's pretty funny. It was however many centimeters tall she is, kaiju.
Yeah.
She's only like 4.5 feet tall.
So Nakajima and Baker had some very, very strong chemistry right out of the gate. I assume they have worked together before because they flowed very well together.
Yeah, great tag match, and what do you give it, sir?
Well, before I rate it, I did want to mention the one little portion where Baker tried to tag out, and she tried to tag out with the wrong partner. She saw a corner, ran to it, tried to tag the wrong person. That didn't happen.
There's a joke in there I feel like you can grab out of the sky.
I'm just going to throw it away. We'll just make mention of it. Then there was a nice spot I wanted to mention. They got back the announcer from Double or Nothing, who nobody was a fan of. And this is, I quote, he said, this is a tag match, but we're getting mostly singles wrestling in the tag match. He was all excited about that. And then he said, Britt Baker, she may want Riho to lose because it's an easier path to the title, but she also knows that losing does not help her. That's an actual quote.
Wow.
And how this guy got back on the show is completely beyond me because they stepped up in a big way on Fyter Fest.
I've heard he's a really nice guy. I'm sure he, sends his money into the United Way, and I'm sure I'm sure he uses turn signals and everything. But he clearly has no business commentating a wrestling match.
And one more side note: the referee in this match, she really telegraphed the fact that it was going to be a 2 count. That's my one big complaint.
She did okay.
Overall, not a bad match. There was some sloppy stuff. Riho, big improvement. I gave it 2 stars.
I was between 2 and 2.5, and in the end, I settled on 2.
Okay.
It's fair 2-star match, and Riho really improved over her last performance. So
yeah,
can't complain on that. So
moving on to the 6-man tag. It was kind of a weird pairing with Shawn Spears and MJF being on the same team.
They made it work.
Guevara also on the team. Then you had Darby Allin, Jimmy Havoc, and Joey Janela. 3 guys that actually made sense together. Darby's really over. The crowd really responds to him. I like that. Guevara looked really good. I liked what I saw from him in the pre-show at Double or Nothing. MJF just killing it as usual. Doesn't matter if he's getting his ass kicked, kicking ass, or just giving the finger to whoever. Speaking of which, about 4,000 middle fingers in that match.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was I was like, are we going to rate this match in stars or middle fingers? Like, that's...
There were a lot.
What...
The big spot I really liked was Janela DVD to Guevara on the apron. Friggin' ouch. They utilized the apron a lot on this card, and I guess that's going to be a staple. I mean, Darby Allin set the bar pretty high last time at Fyter Fest. They're utilizing it. The crowd knows it hurts. People respect it. Just don't get carried away with it. That's my take. Overall, though, Spears hits his finisher for the win. I was a little torn on this one. I wanted to see a little bit longer, but I give it 2.5.
Oh, let's see here, sir. You gave it 2.7, or no, 2.5.
Yeah. I know, it's hard to rate this one.
I had to disagree because Darby put in amazing work.
He had a good
Spears had his moments.
I wanted to see more Spears.
There was too much Havoc.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry, I just don't.
Yep.
For a guy who loves hardcore extreme wrestling, I just don't dig it. I don't know why.
It's a different kind.
I was a little more generous in this match. I ended up giving it 3 stars.
Okay.
Because
that's fair too. That's fair. I can't completely disagree with it. But moving down, a match I was not a huge fan of. I think he was a bigger fan than I. Brandy Rhodes versus Allie. She brings down Awesome Kong before the match starts, and that was a huge influence on Allie throughout the match. Her focus was more on Awesome Kong early going. I don't know. They didn't gel, and Allie had a really bad match with Leva Bates on the last show. That probably influenced my take on it a little bit. She improved a little, but there was just some blatant spots where I thought she was just totally off cue. And let's just be honest, Brandy she's no ring general, okay? She's just not, but she's a good female heel, and especially if she's going to be paired with Kong. So it's fine. I get it. Brandy got the win in the end.
And again, as I said, I am shocked that Rhodes would be booked in such a way in a Rhodes book territory.
Yeah,
but who would have ever thought such a thing? But so what did you end up giving this match? Because I was much more generous.
I gave
than
it
you.
1 1/4. I couldn't get into it.
1 1/4.
I couldn't get into it.
Now maybe I'm just because I love me a comeback story with Awesome Kong, and I'm a mark for the old Japanese female hardcore wrestling. So when Aja Kong,
there was that.
And Brandy did a lot better in that match. I thought the stumbling points I thought weren't really all that noticeable. I'm giving it 2.5.
To be fair, this was the worst match on the card, and it could have been a lot worse. 2.5, I think, is being way too generous. That's just me. But I'm not going to berate you too much for it. I get it. If we're setting up an Aja versus Awesome match, let's hope it's a tag match, not a singles.
Yeah. Now, I will say it was a little corny when she's the chief Brandy officer.
Let's not. No, let's just not. Let's remember the good stuff and move on to the next. The match that did happen, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Angelico Evans, and the Dark Order. Finally, the Dark Order debuting after the big push build that they've been getting on this.
Who are you? Who are you?
We got a name. We got a name, and we finally got a match.
They're not the Super Smash Bros. Anymore because I imagine Nintendo pretty much just
that
basically Brock Lesnar to Randy Orton.
Yeah,
that whole idea,
and that's fine. And I'll just say it out the gate. Uno, no, not a fan. But Grayson, he got over with me. I thought his stuff was much better than I expected because I'd heard bad things. So I guess it's him and not Grayson. I liked his portion. Jungle Boy, solid in this match. And Luchasaurus, I'm going to say it, I
got over with me.
I was surprised at how agile he is for the size that he is, but I guess that's why he's over. And then, of course, Angelico and Evans did their Cirque du Soleil stuff, but they actually did flow well with the other teams in the match.
They did. I'll be honest, Angelico and Evans, I just don't know what it is about them. It's them and the Best Friends have a really hard time getting over with me. It's just, there's something about it.
And they had a good match at Double or Nothing, but it wasn't the chemistry was good. The match psyche was way off. And that's another thing. In this match specifically, the respect for the traditional rules, it's thrown completely out the window. And that's what it's going to be like with AEW. We know that going in. But I would like to see a little bit of consistency. So that's my big gripe with it. But the Dark Order had a very strong finish. There was a point where you watched it just a little bit behind me. You said, I thought that was going to be the finish. And I said, I did too. Then they hit the finish, and it was fantastic, like a big flipping ace crusher.
Yeah.
Really good finish.
That was really cool.
Really good finish. I gave it 2.75.
Oh, gosh. Oh.
I know. It's another one of those busy matches. It's very hard to rate it.
2.75. Now I remember, because I always give my stars immediately after the match. I'll fresh in my mind. I ended up giving it 3. It was a 2.5-star match until about the last 3 minutes of it. Where everybody in the match just shifted to another gear, and it's a 3-star match, which I never thought I'd say that for the Super Smash Bros.
Well, there you have it. Like I said.
Let alone one that they would win.
You know, and that's another thing. I said top to bottom, pre-show, main event, match quality. This is hands down AEW's best show to date because of the average of the way we both rated it. I think top to bottom, the matches flowed better than the other 2 shows so far. I think top to bottom, quality-wise, this was the best one. But moving down the line, we get to Paige Of course. You know what? Did Adam Page even need an opponent? Did he?
Put him in there with a broom handle. See how he does.
I mean, let's just be completely honest. Like, I get it, and then they push the idea that Kip Sabian's pissed off because he's an afterthought. I liked it. They rolled with it, and it worked. But he was going to get the win. We knew he was going to get the win going in to keep him strong for Jericho. But that being said, the commentators were really off for this one. But the pacing right out of the gate was really, really strong. Page had a really good swing backdrop to the apron, another apron spot, big ouch. Page hits a great moonsault to the outside, started selling the knee. He's committed to that. That's great. The running power bomb over the top rope to the outside entrance ramp. That's where I think you even said, okay, that puts it to that next level. That was the turning point.
Yeah. I agree. I ended up giving this a 3-star match because it, like you said, there's a lot there, but they're kind of savoring it for his title match going up with Jericho, and the post-match shenanigans where one of the Dark Order shows up.
Yep.
Wait a minute. He seems to be a gristled ring veteran. Wait, is that
Look at those pearly blue eyes through the mat? Hey, it's Jericho. I liked it. I don't think you needed the misdirect there. Like, Jericho could have still hit 3. I still enjoyed it, though. I gave it 3 stars. I thought
he hates to agree, but he's going to agree.
Yeah, it was a 3-star match. It was really good, though. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Let's talk a little bit about the Lucha Bros versus SCU. Just a tag match, no triple. We screwed it up again. It's been a long weekend of wrestling, and we tried to prep as best we could, and we completely botched it. Again, we apologize. But this match, man, this was just a stellar match, beginning to end. But my big gripe, and I know you don't care because it's character work, but Pentagon does the whole thing with the glove. It took up almost 5 minutes, and we are stressing the fact we are stressing the fact that time limits are a big thing in AEW, and he wasted about 5 minutes doing that shtick, so they had to re-pick up the pace again, and they did, and it was fine at the finish, but I didn't like the messing around. Some really great tag moves from both teams. The Luchas, of course, hit the stomp spike pile driver, and they got the win. And it ended up being a very, 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 very good match.
You want to throw out some of that pomp and circumstance. You got to remember, the pomp and circumstance is what brought him to the dance.
I'll give you that.
There's a lot of luchadors.
We're talking about luchadors, yeah.
There's a lot of luchadors in Mexico that do a lot of flips. Mm-hmm. Okay? But only a very certain few of them really catch that next level of character work.
Pentagon, I even say, like, you just got to appreciate the fact that his look, his mask, the eyes behind the mask, it's phenomenal.
Tremendous amount of character work.
Yes.
A lot of Day of the Dead imagery. I mean, he works it perfectly. That being said, he's also one of the best tag team wrestlers on the face of planet Earth right now. I gave it 4 stars.
I was not nearly as generous. Like I said, the screwing around took me out of it in the beginning.
New York marks.
3.25. I think that's fair.
0.75 is a New York handicap.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant difference for the two of us, though. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I have yet to see a Lucha Bros tag match that I'm not thoroughly satisfied.
That's exactly right. Like, they don't have bad matches.
Yeah,
they don't have bad matches.
4 stars, and it's going to be in the at least list, in my opinion, probably top 10 of tag matches of the year.
And then we had them throw down the challenge for a ladder match with the Bucks at All Out.
That'll be good.
That's, you know what?
Their last match is a 4.5 star match in my book. I forget what you rated it.
You know what? The fact that they're going to take tags completely out of the equation is going to make that match better.
You're right.
Forget the ladder. Forget the ladder. Because in Tornado Rules, that's the Young Bucks style. That's going to be phenomenal. I'm excited for that. Yep. Moving down the line, though, we get to a singles match that, you know, a vet and kind of another vet, but a New Japan darling, CIMA, Kenny Omega, in just a solid match. I mean, it was not over the top as far as the flip stuff went. Okay, the work rate was very, and maybe that's more due to CIMA, but Kenny Omega, I think he's kind of, I don't want to say slowing down. I said that before to Phil, but he kind of corrected me a bit. It's not so much slowing down. How did you put it?
He's taking it more seriously. It's like he's getting mad. He's getting emoting. That's his biggest, your biggest
drawback.
Yes,
to Kenny Omega.
Criticism to Kenny Omega is that he's too much of, what dawn through yonder window breaks. He's acting like he's like Shakespeare in the Park too much. And he's not acting like he's a fighter trying to win a fight. Yeah. And he's in tremendous shape. I mean, you're going to find few people in the wrestling industry that's in better shape than Kenny Omega. But he just seems to, he's just now recently yes, you're in a fight. And this was
he has the look, but he doesn't emote like we want him to.
This match with CIMA is an exception. Hopefully this is more of what we get to see in the future, because he really emoted his anger. He emoted the proper emotions in the right time. Yes. And this was an amazing match.
I got to say, like, we've seen CIMA on all 3 cards of AEW now. He was in that Strong Hearts triple tag match. Then he had the match with Daniels, and now against Kenny Omega. So far, CIMA's just a outstanding opponent for no matter who he's in the ring against. Doesn't matter if it's a tag match or a singles match. He's just a stellar opponent. And, of course, he eats the pin here because you've got to give Kenny Omega his first singles victory. And they were quite adamant.
Did you know wins and losses matter?
They matter, and they had to point that out. The knee dive off the platform onto Kenny on the table, that was a pretty impressive spot. It wasn't a big fall, but the way Kenny took it, the way he sold it, it worked. It was really, really nice. I really will
say, CIMA also needs another piece of credit. He is the only man who figured out how to get a move over in a match that he could perform more times in a single match than the Young Bucks Super Kick.
The Meteora?
Yeah.
Yep, that's actually one of my notes right here.
After Meteora, and it was, the fans still bought it.
That was, I actually had a gripe with that. I think that hurt it because
there's
it's supposed to be his big move.
One too many.
Every one that he did, though, was different, and it was good. But he devalued it. You can't do your finisher or one of your big trademarks that many times
Kenny Omega
and not devalue it if you don't win the match. If you don't win
against
the match.
Omega, I get it. I enjoyed this match much more than you did.
CIMA played the big man on the match the whole way through. Kenny was kind of the underdog.
Yes.
Which was a little awkward.
Kenny usually plays that role.
All right.
I'm going to give that 4 stars.
I couldn't go that high. I gave it 3 1/4.
Wow, you're starting to sound like me 6 months ago.
I don't know.
I'll be honest.
It was a really strong match.
The fact that I'm giving this match that high is me being very objective. I was a big Omega hater. The fact that he wrestled.
I will vouch for that.
The fact that he wrestled a blow-up doll and a 9-year-old girl, I was incensed by it. And then I watched the match with him versus the 9-year-old girl, and Tony can vouch, like, so what'd you think? It was brilliant. It was a masterpiece. Maybe not quite that dramatic, but yes.
But that does also verify the notion that he is a Shakespearean actor in a wrestling ring.
Yes, but yeah, that match was way better than it deserved to be. And this match, way better than it deserved to be. 4 stars, Kenny Omega.
Quite.
You're starting to make a believer out of me, and I'm a little afraid.
Fair enough.
So
we get to the main event. I really enjoyed the build for this. And let me completely preface this with the fact that I don't think either of us have had the downtime to watch the YouTube build. No, I haven't. We already commit ourselves to Raw, SmackDown, it's insane. and the fact we have another it's a lot to take in, especially for us.
Double or nothing.
We're not young bloods anymore. Like, I got a little bit of downtime, so I do what I can. But I didn't get to watch much build for this, and I still enjoyed the build for this match just during the show.
For me, the build for this was everything they did at Double or Nothing. That was the build for this match. That was enough.
Needed.
Now, I will say, Tony, you're lucky Dustin didn't get color in this match. Otherwise,
I know.
Who knows? This one might have broken the Meltzer scale.
Okay, let me just get this out of. Let me get my notes out of the way. All right, and then we can delve into this. Let me focus. Really good chemistry early on between Cody and the Bucks. Shocker. Complete shocker. I know. Total shocker. Really strong tag spots, though, between the Rhodes brothers. I enjoyed that. The fact that they have not had a tag team match in who knows how long. I think
a minute or two.
They made mention of it. I missed it. I love that Dustin.
Hey, it's them.
Hey, I really liked that Dustin's style specifically forced the Bucks to kind of slow down and focus more on the psychology of a tag match. Now, don't get me wrong, because then my exact next note is the four-way stuff, where the tags were completely forgotten. The legality of who's in the ring was forgotten. I didn't hate it, though, this time. It wasn't a bunch of Cirque du Soleil stuff, because they were mirroring their trademark moves. They were hitting it, and it flowed well. It gelled well. All four guys were on the same page. And that's not all four guys being completely familiarized with each step. I was shocked that it worked as well as it did.
It was one of the few times I've ever seen in a tag match where people doing moves in stereo actually felt somewhat organic. It didn't feel as forced, like when you're, I won't even mention, but when you're watching certain other places. But this one, it just flowed together so well.
But after the four guy stuff, at one point Cody's on the outside, Dustin's in there with the Bucks. The refs basically just kind of relaxed on the ropes, like, screw it. And I'm like, apparently the Bucks can just...
You're there to count three, ref.
They can just be there at the same time and nobody cares. And seeing that takes me right back out of it a little bit. I get it. It's their style. I'm not going to come down on them because of it, but it did take me out of the match a little bit. But that being said, just a strong main event, solid tag team wrestling. All guys flowed well together, which is incredibly impressive for a 50-year-old Dustin who's never really worked at the Bucks before. I loved it. I thought it was a really good match. And of course, and the Meltzer driver at the end, and I hate the name, but I love the move. Boom, hit it.
It got him over with the dirt sheet rider that got him this far.
It was a crystal clear finisher, and the Young Bucks, as I predicted, got the W.
And that's what allowed Tony to retain his championship.
We tied 7-7.
So AEW events are kind of an anomaly in our...
They are. But that's expected because right now we don't have TV build. So our build is the YouTube stuff that we're not able to watch all the time, and it's the previous show.
And you've been watching WWE since you were how old now?
Raw was in its infancy when I started watching it, if that tells you anything.
You know, before you were even 10.
Yeah.
So who knows, like when you were learning to read, you've been watching Raw. Me, shortly thereafter, I started on the TBS, TNT, Turner syndications.
A little bit, yeah, as we've discussed before. But how did you rate that main event?
Another amazing Rhodes Brothers match. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm being conservative.
I don't think you're being conservative. I give it 3.5 because they were pressed for time, and we saw that at the end when the post-match stuff on the mic with the Bucks, they cut them short. I feel like they gave it a 60-minute time limit because we had to announce that, and they only used, I think, maybe around 40. So had this hit another gear, I probably would have gone to the 4-star territory. But that being said, really great match, but I can only give it 3.5.
Well, don't worry, Tony. Nobody's perfect. And in time, you will achieve greater extremeness. But it's a 4-star match. Cody's been knocking it out of the park pretty much any time he steps between those ropes.
I'll reach a new level of extremeness, huh?
Yes, and we will see.
That's a good segue.
Tomorrow.
Because we are transitioning over to Extreme Rules from this match.
It's been a busy weekend for wrestling.
Yeah, and we didn't even watch the Evolve card because we just don't have the frickin' time, folks.
Believe it or not, we do believe in things like sleep and like
earning a
spending
paycheck.
Time with our children
we don't
earning paychecks.
We don't make money from doing this yet, so yeah, still got to be working stiffs. But again, top to bottom, hands down, my personal favorite for AEW from the efforts that they put forth so far. The pre-show knocked my expectations out of the park. The main card was really good.
Yes, I like just looking over these notes here. I gave 4 of these matches 4 stars. Okay, I gave Lucha Bros versus SCU. I gave Kenny Omega versus SEMA.
That's too much.
And Cody Dustin. I rate every match on its own merits. I don't look at the card as a whole. I look at each match on its own.
That. You're misinterpreting me. I'm not judging the card as a whole because I could rate it on a scale as a whole differently. But I thought that the way that they produced the matches a little bit this time, because it was a lot quicker. It was the transition between matches was a lot more fluent. Everything top to bottom, the production value was on point and it flowed well. And the match quality wasn't over the top or under. There wasn't a bunch of shenanigans and then a strong match. Everything just worked well together. I feel like they more hit their niche this time. I guess that would be my big takeaway from it. I think it's their best effort so far. Some people are going to still say
they do have some individual matches that were better. Double or Nothing did have 2 matches that were better, but but their pre-show was a joke.
There it is.
So
they're getting their groove.
Yes, and you're right. From top to bottom, this has been their best presentation.
Okay.
So, but all that being said, join us, folks, for our review upcoming for this Extreme weekend when the King of Extreme captures the championship. Join us, folks.